This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, Rabbi Isai, in Salant, there lived two very poor cobblers, and one of them had a very big change of fortune, became a very wealthy man. The other one remained a cobbler, very bitterly poor. And the wealthy former cobbler, who was no longer a cobbler, now he's a wealthy guy, became a very respected member of the community. And his children became engaged to other wealthy members of the community. And they made a big wedding. The first wedding of the child, his oldest child, they made a huge wedding. And at that wedding, he stood under the chuppah, together with the chosin and the kala. And, where is he? And his former colleague, his former cobbler, who was very jealous, very bitter that his previous friend was upset, was now a rich guy, and he upset him. So he went over to him and loudly in the crowd said, "Oh, my shoes are torn. How much do you charge to fix them?" In Salant, Rabbi said, this was a Ma'aser Shahaya, the man was so embarrassed that he collapsed and he died on the spot at his own child's chuppah. Rabbi said, Rabbi Yisrael Salanta was at this wedding. The Heilige Rabbi Yisrael Salanta was at this wedding when this happened. When he saw this Ma'aser, he decided the Musa movement needs to start. If you want to know what started Rabbi Yisrael Salanta, the idea of the Musa movement, which changed the face of Klal Yisrael, it was that Ma'aser. It was someone that was jealous. It was someone that was embarrassing somebody else, someone that wasn't sensitive to somebody else's feelings. We all know Rabbeinu Yonah. Who doesn't know Rabbeinu Yonah? Rabbeinu Yonah writes in Shari Tshuva that embarrassing someone is like murdering him. Why? Simply because when you embarrass someone, the color changes, his blood drains from his face. And we know from Hilchos Shabbos that when you cause blood to move even within the body, by bruising for example, it's called that blood came out because it's moved from its place. Normally that blood is never replaced. Ask a doctor. And therefore Rabbeinu Yonah says that when a person embarrasses somebody else, it's doimah to killing him. It's doimah to killing him. Doesn't make it, it's doimah to killing him. It's a very, very serious thing. That's how careful a person has to be from embarrassing somebody else, to make sure that his words don't cause harm to somebody, don't cause embarrassment to someone, because look what happened in Salant, Rabbi Yisrael. True! You could say, what do you mean, look what great thing happened, the Muslim movement will start from that, but obviously that wasn't the way it should have been done. So, why am I mentioning this to you now, even though we are discussing in the middle of the halachos of Lashon Hara, we're wrapping up the halachos of Lashon Hara, because, apart from Lashon Hara, and the Chavis Chaim brings this in the Akdama, apart from the Is of Lashon Hara per se, the actual is of Lashon Hara, there are many other isurim that a person can do at the same time, and that is embarrassing somebody else. You're talking about somebody else, you embarrass him. Now he may not seem like he's embarrassed, he may say it's fine, he brushes it off, but deep down he's embarrassed. And you can affect him for years to come, and it's a terrible, terrible thing. Okay? A gewaldige beginning of what I wanted to discuss today. Now I want to get into a few things if you don't mind, and then it's like this. We mentioned, if you remember, that the more people, we talked about yesterday about listening to Lashon Hara. So I don't know if we mentioned this before, but I want to say it now. Remember this next time you speak Lashon Hara, chas v'shalom la'aleinu, that if the more people that are listening, the greater avera you have. Because you didn't just cause him to listen, you also caused him and 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 him. And if it's a press of a button, then you have no idea how many people listen to that Lashon Hara. Right? So it's a very, very serious thing. I want to mention one thing. In the beginning of Klal Beis, Aleph, if you don't mind, I just want to try to get through certain things. And that is, people have this idea, if there's 3 people there, then it's okay. You ever heard that one before? There's 3 people there, it's fine. So again, it's not shaykh, and I'm telling you now, I'm not going through all the halachas and the ramifications and the specific details. You'll learn to say for yourself. But the Ma'aser the Chofetz Chaim says in Klal Beis in the beginning, he says that is only something that could have been taken both ways. Meaning, when you say something and it's not clear, did you mean it in a good way or a bad way, then when it's said in front of 3 people, then we say, Mr. Tommy meant it in a good way, because in front of 3 people he never would have meant it in a bad way. Unless it's clearly that you were meaning it in a bad way, because the expressions on your face clearly tell us you meant it in a bad way. That smirk on your face says it all, right? So obviously that's how it's poshut. But in a case where it's not clear from what you're saying and the way you're saying it, especially on your face and everything, that you mean it in a bad way, and it can be taken both ways, then, and only then, that's what the Chofetz Chaim can it theoretically be said in front of 3 people, because then we assume that yes, Yutaka said it for a good purpose, because you never would have said it in bad purpose for those 3 people there. Right, now, well-known Lashon Hara. Again, I'm skimming through halachas. Chofetz Chaim says, what about Lashon Hara that's well-known? Come on, everyone knows that. Come on, I heard it in the mikveh, there were 1 million people there. I got on a WhatsApp, it's been around and around and around. It's one of those, what do they call it when it goes around? Viral. No, viral, thank you. It's one of those viral things. Everyone knows that Shem Yirachim Lashon Hara that destroys people's lives, marriages, businesses, and everything else. So when it's a viral thing, it's still awesome, by the way. It's still awesome to tell somebody else. What do you mean? But everyone knows it. Just this guy didn't know it because it's been the Beis Medrash all afternoon, and therefore what does he know about what's going on? He hasn't checked his phone yet. No, it's still Osa. It's still Osa in that case. What? Yeah. Now, let's move on. Rabbi, I'm not even saying anything now. I'm just repeating the words of the Heilige Chofetz Chaim. You'll learn the halachas yourself and the specifications. And for us, it's a chiddush. Because huh? That's ridiculous. I remember specifically teaching a group of Russian boys from New York. Right, there's a school, a Gewaldige school in New York, in Brooklyn, and a beautiful school. I know one of them obeying extremely well. He's an amazing person. I'll bring him to yeshiva to speak. But anyway, so he gave me a group of Russian boys. These boys, Yiddishkeit, they've never seen it before. They don't know what it is. So amongst many things, we discussed Hilchos Shabbos, and we got into Hilchos Beira. So when I told them that on Shabbos you cannot take a tomato out of the cucumber salad, and if you do, we will kill you. Are you crazy? What type of religion is this? What type of religion is this that we kill someone that takes a tomato out of a cucumber salad? It makes no sense, right? The answer is, we grew up with it. No one here was shocked. Because we know that, right? Who didn't grow up with such a halacha? Therefore, for us it's normal. Chofetz Chaim said the same thing. One of the reasons why we don't understand properly Lashon Hara, we didn't grow up with knowing every detail. What do you mean? If everyone knows it, it must be okay. No, it's not true. And again, I'm not going to the details now. You're learning yourself, but Lamaisa, you have to know that. Avak Lashon Hara, Rabbi say. Avak Lashon Hara. Serious stuff. Says Chazal that even Avak Lashon Hara, Avak means the dust, which means you're giving a remez to Lashon Hara. In other words, let's say, for example, someone says to you, "Oh, have you heard recently from Reuven?" Oh, Reuven, don't ask. Did I say anything right now about Reuven? I didn't say a word, right? It was pretty obvious I meant something, right? Don't ask. It's better not to ask. I didn't say Lashon Hara, but I implied it. That's not what Lashon Hara, boys say. Or, oh my gosh, who could believe that he can actually learn a whole day? Bang, Avak Lashon Hara. Right? Oh wow, hasn't he changed? Avak Lashon Hara. We're not even going to discuss Reuven. We're not even going to discuss him. Avak Lashon Hara, boys say. We're talking about something so... I'll give you another example. Somebody mentioned this. Praising! It was your kasha. Praising someone. Wow! Such a chashuv guy. Look at you. Look how many points you have. Baruch Hashem. Isn't that incredible? And someone else is going to say, yeah, but yesterday... No. That's Avak Lashon Hara. Okay? You've got to be very, very, very careful how you speak, what you say, and it can cause someone a loss, it can imply something. It's a very, very serious thing. A person has to realize that whatever he says can have implications. Again, sometimes it's mutter, but a person doesn't have to realize that it's very, very serious. What about talking Lashon Hara about yourself? So, let's go like this. Okay, there's no Lashon Hara about talking about myself. Okay. So the Aveira Pashtus is a ben odom lechaveira aveira, not a ben odom lemokim aveira. I have to do tshuva also, but the Chofetz Chaim says no, it's not true, and he brings the Rabbeinu Yonah. Rabbeinu Yonah says that even if you speak Lashon Hara, and it will not cause damage or shame to anyone, Rabbeinu Yonah paskins that it's asa, because it's the etzem speech that's asa, even if it doesn't cause any problem or any damage. What's the biggest raya? The biggest raya is Miriam. When Miriam spoke of Moshe to Aaron, so we all know that Moshe wasn't affected. It was the biggest honor in the world. It wasn't going to affect him what his sister said. But still, we all know that she had to leave the camp. And what happened over there, because again, Chofetz Chaim brings us b'shem Rabbeinu Yonah this raya, that she spoke, and that's enough. So even if what you're saying is not going to cause any damage, is Lashon Hara. So now the question is, I'm speaking about myself. So if I'm speaking about somebody else, Okay, I'm going to cause him damage because I'm going to put, him down in everyone else's eyes. I'll spoil his shidduch, I'll spoil his business, I'll spoil his Kashrus, I'll spoil who knows what, right? But what about speaking to myself? How interesting is it that the Chofetz Chaim, writing an entire sefer about Shmiras HaLashon, about Lashon Hara, omits this halacha from the entire sefer? He doesn't bring it down. What's the reason? Because the Chofetz Chaim wasn't sure, and Pashtus, he wanted to say maybe it's mutter. Now, Rav Elyashiv Zatzal Paskin halacha l'maisa is actually mutter to speak Lashon Hara about yourself, because he says there's no difference. Can you allow someone to steal from you? Could you allow it? It's not really stealing, right? Because I basically allow him. But he's stealing from you. No, but I allow it. So Rabbi Elyashiv Zatzal wanted to say that it's the same thing. When you speak Lashon Hara about yourself, it's no worse than asking someone to steal from you or letting him steal from you. And therefore it's mutter. However, there's a problem. The problem is there's a famous story. And the story is that the Chofetz Chaim was traveling one side outside Radin, and he met some traveler over there. And this traveler, who had no idea he's talking to the Chofetz Chaim, said, "Have you ever heard of Radin?" And the Chofetz Chaim says, "Sure, I've heard of Radin, yeah." He said, "There's a major tzaddik, a goyin, an unbelievable ayid over there that's mamish kodesh v'noira." Chofetz Chaim says, "He's not kodesh, he's not a tzaddik. This is a regular guy. Chutzpah! Could you speak that way about the halachic Chofetz Chaim?" He was talking to the Chofetz Chaim, right? Chofetz Chaim was like, "Nah, it's nothing, it's good." Right, that was the whole thing. Eventually he went together, he saw who he was, whatever. Without getting into the whole story, from here, if the story is true, what happened at the end of the story is that the Chofetz Chaim basically said that Lashon Hara should never have been said, even about myself, meaning I was wrong. He admitted that he was wrong, I should never have spoken about myself. Now, if that's true, that's a problem, because the Chofetz Chaim seems to say that it's mutter in the Sefer, but yet in this story, if it's true, is not that way. So maybe you want to tie in that the story is not true. Others want to say it was only calming him down, whatever it is, but a person does have to be careful, it's not so poshut. But again, in many situations, none of you, I want to make this clear, none of you speak about other people and yourself. Me and him went somewhere and did something wrong. That's obviously also because you're putting somebody else in the equation. But if you're only talking about yourself, there's definitely, I guess, more of a mokim to be makel in that case. Another thing, Rabbi Isai, if somebody asks you, let's say your boss, you're working for somebody, and your boss says to you, "I need this information, can you please tell me?" Now, you know in the back of your mind it's Lashon Hara, but he might fire you. And if he fires you, you won't have a job. And if you don't have a job, your children will not have anything to eat tomorrow morning for breakfast. Says the Chofetz Chaim, it's brought down many places. You're mechuyev to give up all your money in the world not to say one word of Lashon Hara. That's what it means. Every penny you own. Just like, I'll give you an example, right? This one maybe you can relate to more. If you owned a football stadium that was full of $100 bills, the entire football stadium was full of $100 bills. Can you imagine? I'll be geschmack. Let's Hashem, the yeshiva is going to own one of those soon. But imagine you own that, and on Shabbos Kodesh, you see it's going up in flames. They can still save many of the dollar bills. It just started. If you leave it, it's all gone. Your fortune is over. So all you have to do is put it out on Shabbos. I'm sure God won't care. I'm sure it's okay. No one's going to dream of being Machal Shabbos for dollar bills. Machal Shabbos, right? So the what's the difference? It's a daraisa to speak badly about somebody else. You were going to give, what are you going to give for a bit of money? For a bissel geld? Chas v'shalom. You have to mechuyev to give up every single penny of your everything in order to not say one word. Now, it could be sometimes your boss has the right to ask for it, and it's latei eles, and maybe it's mutter, ask a rabbi. But just to understand the idea, it's a very serious thing. And I want to speak about another thing as well. I think it's important as well. Tshuva. Baruch Hashem, we've got a little bit more of a sensitivity to the halachos of Shmiras HaLashon and Lashon Hara. What do I do now? So Baruch Hashem, we saw already a chabura of guys who are already mekabel themselves to learn. Those that haven't, you can still do it. It's gavaldik. I actually want to tell you a mashal about that I saw. One of my papers, whoever prepared these, so it says over here, gavaldik mashal, and that is like this, if I find it. He says, people sometimes are worried. What's the difference? Am I anyway going to stop speaking Lashon Hara? No. I'm not going to stop speaking Lashon Hara. So I'm not going to stop. Let me just continue. So the motion is, imagine if you have a wallet full of pure gold coins. Can you imagine? A wallet full of pure gold coins. And you realize there's a hole in it. And as you're going, you keep on dropping them and they're gone. Right? Because obviously everyone else picks them up. What are you going to do? You're going to take the wallet with the rest of the gold coins, chuck this out, it's got a hole, I'm just losing all the gold coins. Or you're going to keep whatever you have left. Obviously you're going to keep whatever you have left. It's the same thing with these halachas. It's true. Maybe you won't be able to totally stop. Maybe you won't be able to completely, for the rest of your lives, never speak Lashon Hara. But at least get what you possibly can. Grab hold of those gold coins that you still can manage to keep hold of, and try as much as you can. That means even if one day, could be, that in the morning, at one time you spoke Lashon Hara, it happens, could be, once. So don't say, it's over, the rest of the day it's over. No, grab hold of those gold coins. If you didn't manage for that minute, maybe in 2 more minutes you'll have another Nisayon, and you'll stop then. So that's number one. Number two, when it comes to tshuva, we mentioned a little bit, I want to mention it more, and that is the inyan of actually doing tshuva. Well, how do you do tshuva from this halacha? So the first thing is, number one, is to never believe it. Never ever believe it. Never believe what happened. Never believe it. That's the most important thing. Number two, if you did believe it, right, what a person has to do is a person has to ask mechila. The Mishnah Berurah, famously in Siman Tov Reish Vav Sif Gimel, brings down that even if the person doesn't know what you said, you have to go over to him and say, "Good afternoon, George. I must tell you that yesterday I was having a conversation with my roommate and I said really bad things about you." And he's like, "Really? How could you say that?" He had no idea. Right? Said the Chofetz Chaim, what's going to be if he's going to get tsar? So the Chofetz Chaim paskins, in that case, you don't have to elaborate on the details, but you have to still ask him. Rabbi Saul Salanta famously was choylek on the Chofetz Chaim. Rabbi Saul Salanta was choylek on the Chofetz Chaim, and he says, no, don't even tell him the Lashon Hara that you spoke against him, because just telling him is going to cause him hurt, and therefore you just ask him for mechila. And Rabbi Saul Salanta says that's the reason why sometimes we ask people for mechila without specifying, like an Erev Yom Kippur, because we don't want to go through all the details of what we said about him, what we did against him, because it's going to cause him tsar. Right? Tefillah, Rabbi Say. Tefillah, if a person davens to Rebbeinu Shalom for siyata d'shmaya, daven for hatzlacha, daven for help, the Habal time say, if you just try, the Rebbeinu Shalom helps you. As we mentioned from Reb Chaim Kanievsky, that I once asked years ago, if you're nichshon on a certain avera, what do you do to masakin it, to fix it up? And he said, learn the halachas. Because what it does is it gives you more of a sensitivity. Rabbi Say, we've spoken in the last almost 2 weeks now about the Kedushas HaDibur and how sensitive a person has to be in order to make sure that his words that come out of his mouth don't hurt somebody else. Rabbi said we should learn from this, whether it's talking about emes v'sheka, whether it's talking about milnas tuvarim, whether it's talking about embarrassing somebody, whether it's talking about lashon hara, whatever it may be, any form of speech. Think about the words that come out of your mouth. Think about, before you say something, is this going to hurt someone? Would I like somebody to say this about me? You know, we've said this, Marshall. Then imagine if there's a book written about your life. Everything you did, everything you said, everything you thought is in that book. It's being published, printed, and sent around the world. Kishmak. How much money would you pay to stop the printing? You press stop on the printing. Stop. That's it. Nobody knows. No one will ever know. No one will ever know what you did, what you saw, what you said, what you listened to, and what you thought. Nobody. How much money would you pay? Rabbi say, that power is within us to stop the kitrug in Shomayim. As the Chofetz Chaim Rabbeinu Yonah tells us, when we're careful what we speak, when we're careful how we talk, then in Shomayim all our tefillahs go up. And everything we ever did to someone doesn't get mentioned to the Rebbeinu Shalom. But the moment we use our mouths for bad, the moment we use our mouths to hurt somebody, to embarrass someone, to put somebody else down, then we are causing our own downfall, because all of our things that we did go straight to Kisakov. The Rabbi say, the Rabbi Shem should give us all siyata d'shmaya, to be able to steig, to be able to grow, to know these halachas, to learn these halachas, to live these halachas. And if we try, then the Rabbi Shem will help us. Have a wonderful day.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.